Hey everyone, and welcome back to Recap Stories. Today we're looking at the really awesome cult classic horror film, Maniac Cop. Please like the video and subscribe if you haven't, and spoilers ahead. The film opens as we see Officer Matt Cordell getting ready for a night of patrolling. We see the Twin Towers overlooking New York Harbor. A woman leaves work walking home alone at night in 1980s New York City. She's assaulted by some thugs that want her purse and money, but she gives them a bit of a beating and runs off. The men chase after her, but luckily she finds an officer and runs to him. Unfortunately for her though, it's our Maniac Cop who picks her up and breaks her goddamn neck. The two thugs see it all happen and run off. Next day, police find the body and the two thugs. They however claim it wasn't them, it was a big cop. We're at the New York Medical Examiner. Detective Frank McRae is checking out the body of the murdered woman. An eyewitness claims they saw the two kids chase her, but Frank isn't buying it. He thinks it was a fellow cop that did it, as the victim knew and served a lot of cops. A couple teens are at a red light and they're making out. When a cop suddenly pulls up and motions for the driver to come out, the kid goes to do a sobriety test, but it's our good old buddy, the Maniac Cop. He cuts the kid's throat and tosses him on the car. His girlfriend is in hysterics and drives off. Frank meets with Commissioner Pike and tells him he believes it's a fellow officer that murdered the woman. He asks that they check on any police that have been dealing with extreme stress or trauma as of late. It's nighttime and a man is walking down the street. He gets to his car, but is handcuffed by an officer. Hey, it's our friend again, Maniac Cop, and the man takes off running. He tries buzzing for help, but this is New York, buddy, and people tell him off. The man trips and falls and has his face pushed into wet cement. The next morning, his body is being removed with jackhammers, and it looks like something out of Looney Tunes. Frank meets with a reporter named Regina and tells her what he believes is going on. We hear her report about the cover-up of a suspected murderous cop and see a woman with car troubles. A cop pulls up behind her, and the report has made her anxious and afraid. The cop is at her door and she shoots him. We meet a woman, Ellen Forrest, and her husband Jack, played by the always awesome Bruce Campbell. He's a cop and has to work at night. His wife worries about him though, what with the sudden violence on police. Their marriage is a bit on the rocks at the moment as well. She gets a strange phone call claiming Jack is the one doing the killing. Ellen follows him as she's really insecure and suspicious, and she might have good reason to as he enters a motel room. Ellen enters the room and well, Jack is messing around on her with another officer. To say she isn't taking it well is kind of an understatement. Ellen runs out, but she's grabbed and pulled into a van by her buddy Maniac Cop. A housekeeper goes to clean the room they were in and she discovers the body of Jack's wife. Captain Ripley pulls Jack out from their briefing to have a word with him. He tells Jack his wife was found dead in the room and Jack says, well, he must be wrong. Jack's being questioned by Ripley and Frank. His wife wrote in her diary that she believed Jack to be the killer. His lawyer comes, giving him options saying they can say he blacked out. But Jack is adamant that it wasn't him. He has a witness but doesn't want to bring her in unless absolutely necessary. We see a report on TV with people saying they don't trust the police. Frank thinks Jack has been set up for the murders. He speaks with Jack and tells him his life may be in danger. Someone knows about him and his affair. Jack tells Frank he's sleeping with a fellow officer, Teresa Mallory. We see her outside a strip joint as she's trying to pull off a prostitution sting. She sees a cop thinking it's another officer. Frank pulls up looking for her. Unfortunately, it's our friend Maniac Cop. She shoots him, and Frank hears the shots and comes around the alley. Their guns seem to have little effect here, and the Maniac Cop just suddenly vanishes. Teresa claims she shot him in the head at least twice. Frank tells her he's going to stash her away for a few days because someone knows what's going on with her and Jack. Frank meets with a woman named Sally Nolan, who Teresa told about the affair. He follows her as he believes she knows more about this than she's letting on. They arrive at some kind of shipping yard, and he watches as she's talking to the Maniac Cop. Matt Cordell is on a mission to kill the mayor, commissioner, and anyone else that has done him wrong. Frank makes a noise, startling Sally. She turns and Cordell is gone. Frank's checking out old news clippings from Cordell's arrests. Cordell was sent to prison for what the city officials claimed was stepping on people's rights, and he was murdered by the men he arrested. We flash back to Cordell being taken to prison, the prisoners just staring at him. He's in the shower where he gets repeatedly stabbed and murdered by the inmates. Jack meets with Frank and Teresa and they tell him they believe Matt Cordell isn't dead and that he's the killer cop. Frank checks on Sally's computer and she attacks him from behind. She runs off screaming, "He knows I'm no good to him," where she then finds the body of an officer hanging. Frank tells her to stop and carries her off. Cordell, however, has other plans and pulls her through a door. Teresa buzzes the door asking why no one is answering as they hear all this commotion. Frank and Cordell start fighting, with Cordell getting the upper hand. Teresa leaves the room and finds another dead cop. Jack grabs the gun off of one of the bodies. He tells her to ready a car as he goes off to find Frank. Frank's younger stunt double is tossed out a window, landing on a car below. Another cop finds Jack and he thinks he killed all the officers. Jack knocks him out and runs out. He finds Teresa and the two run away. They need to prove Cordell is still alive or Jack's gonna take the fall. The two officers are at the prison where Cordell was murdered and ask if they can know what happened to his body. Teresa says they know Cordell wasn't dead. The doctor says he had severe brain damage and there's no way he could function as a human. There's a St. Patrick's Day parade and everyone's gonna be there. We see news reporter Sam Raimi on the job talking about the death threats and violence towards police. Teresa meets with Pike trying to convince him Cordell is the murderer, but they still think it's Jack. They arrest her as Pike heads down to the parade. Mustache Cop, however, has other ideas. Pike and Ripley are waiting for an elevator when Cordell comes from behind and stabs both of them. Okay, Mustache Cop just wants to make his career off her arrest. He's griping and moaning, but thankfully Cordell shuts him up. Teresa is trying to run, but she's handcuffed to one cop and bodies block the other side of the door. She breaks a window and kicks Cordell off as he grabs her. Police see Jack on the street and chase after him. They throw him in the back of a paddy wagon, but Cordell removes the driver and takes over. Teresa gets in another cop car and tells the man to chase them. Cordell smashes into a car, causing it to flip over. They arrive at the shipping dock and hit the security guard on the way in. Teresa heads in alone with a shotgun while the other officer radios for help. Cordell hits the door with an axe trying to open it, and Jack jumps out, but Cordell grabs him and picks him up. He's a pretty handsome dude. Cordell throws Jack at Teresa and grabs her shotgun. He shoots the other officer who comes in to help. Jack karate kicks the weapon out of his hand but is laid out. Cordell drives off as more police arrive, but Jack grabs onto the wagon. The two men are fighting and struggling. Cordell drives into some kind of pole or mast and it just goes right through his chest. They go flying off a dock and oh my god, that poor stuntman. The wagon is pulled from the water, but there's no sign of Cordell. We see his hand rise from the water and the film comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed Maniac Cop. You really should check it out if you haven't because it's pretty awesome. The second one is even better if you ask me. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you all for watching and take care everyone.